Welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping right into the tactical trenches today with a breakdown of a massive Manaball clash.
Oh, absolutely massive.
Yeah, if you caught Game 2 of the season at the Manheim Academy Arena, you know we are unpacking an absolute thriller.
A really incredible match.
We've got the high-flying Golden Eagles taking on the defensively stout Verdant Deer, and the final scoreboard showed a 5-3 victory for the Eagles.
Right, 5-3, but
But the score alone doesn't even begin to tell the story of what actually happened out there.
no, not at all. It was a complete chess match.
Exactly. So our mission today is to decode that brilliant tactical chess match that unfolded inside that transparent dome. Specifically, we're looking at how the Eagles' upper layer strikes managed to crack the Deer's notoriously patient defensive scheme.
Yeah, which is not an easy thing to do.
It really isn't. I've been looking at the heat maps from this game, and the spatial dominance is just fascinating. But before we get into live action, could you maybe just ground the listener in the mechanics of the sport?
Yeah, of course. So for anyone visualizing this, remember Manaball is a four-dimensional sport.
Right.
It's played inside a transparent magical dome. The dimensions are 210 feet long, 95 feet wide, and 30 feet high.
A huge space.
It really is. And the defining feature is the flight band. That's the magical gravity field that dictates movement.
Okay, right. The three vertical layers.
Exactly. You have the neutral plane right in the middle where gravity is standard. Then you have the upper layer where objects naturally drift downward, and the lower layer where objects drift upward.
So you're constantly fighting or using that mana-gravity depending on where you are in the dome.
Precisely. And that brings us to the fundamental stylistic contrast we saw in Game 2.
It was basically a textbook clash of philosophies, right?
Oh, completely.
Right.
On one side, you have the Golden Eagles. Their entire identity is built around overwhelming you with speed and improvisation.
Yeah, they use a base formation of 3 strikers and 2 centers.
Right, very aggressive. They essentially want to turn the dome into a chaotic, three-dimensional track meet.
And then you have the Verdant Deer.
Right, the Deer operate on the exact opposite principle. They believe that defense inevitably becomes offense. They use a 1-2-3 defensive system known as the forest trap.
The forest track, yeah?
They just want to absorb pressure, dictate the pace, and wait for a mistake. They are masters of the counterattack.
So the big question heading in was whether the Deer's structured patience could ground the Eagles' aerial aggression.
Exactly.
Well, I want to get right into the live action because, I mean, the opening minutes of Period 1 set a blistering tone.
Oh, it was frantic.
Both teams were immediately testing the airspace. But the Golden Eagles came out flying, just this breakneck speed right through the neutral plane. It felt like they were trying to send a message right from the jump.
They absolutely were. They were deliberately pushing the tempo to see if the Deer would break formation.
Just testing the waters.
Right, because the Eagles thrive on rapid transitions. If they can force the opposing defense to start chasing the play horizontally...
Then the vertical lanes open up.
Exactly. The vertical lanes they actually want to exploit become wide open.
And it didn't take long for that to materialize at all. Midway through the opening period, we saw the first flash of what became the defining synergy of the entire match.
Oh, that first goal.
Yeah. Golden Eagle center Jack Jeffrey intercepts the orb in the neutral plane. He immediately accelerates upward into the higher airspace.
Just bursts up there.
Yeah, and he threads this gorgeous lift pass straight into the upper layer. And striker Addie Lum is already waiting.
She was perfectly positioned.
She dives from above, striking the orb mid-descent with this vicious spike shot that slips right inside the goal ring. Eagles go up 1-0.
It was a beautiful play.
I got to ask you about that Jeffrey to Lum connection, because
Okay.
it looked almost telepathic.
That synergy is the absolute engine of the Eagles' offense. Jack Jeffrey operates as, well, basically a spatial commander out there.
A spatial commander, I like that.
He isn't just looking at where his players are, he's actively calculating where the mana gravity is going to pull the defense.
Right, he's playing 4D chess.
Exactly. When he kicks up and lofts that pass, he knows Lum has the unparalleled aerial instincts to meet it at the apex.
It's wild to watch.
It really is. But notice what the Verdant Deer did in response.
Yeah, they didn't panic at all.
Most teams would freak out after getting burned from above like that. The deer simply tightened their shape.
They completely locked down the lower zones.
Yes, they deployed that signature forest trap. Defenders Leo Wiskuth and Briarwood deliberately dropped back. They clogged the horizontal shooting lanes.
Basically inviting the eagles to keep exhausting themselves with those vertical drives.
Exactly. And behind them, deer guardian Carter Vobbs put on an absolute clinic in positional saves.
Bob was incredible.
Just tracking the trajectories perfectly, absorbing the hits, waiting for the eagles to overextend.
Which brings us to the late first period counterattack. This is where the deer's patience actually pays off.
Classic deer Manaball right here.
Here, center Bannock McBain takes control of the orb along the dome barrier. He cycles it, drawing the eagle's defenders toward him.
He's so patient with the orb.
Right. He holds it for what feels like an eternity, just waiting for the perfect millisecond. And then boom, threads a path through heavy traffic.
Beautiful vision.
Teresa Walder rises from the neutral plane, catches the feed, fires a snapshot. Tied 1-1.
The discipline required to execute that under pressure is just insane.
It really speaks to a broader strategic concept that you can apply outside of sports, too. The Verdant deer are masters of resource management.
Resource management, yeah.
While the eagles are burning massive amounts of energy fighting gravity for those high-altitude strikes, the deer are conserving their movement. They let the structure do the work and then strike with maximum efficiency.
And McBain is basically the architect of that efficiency.
Oh, entirely.
Yeah.
He uses the perimeter of the dome not just as a boundary, but as a tool to manipulate the eagle's aggressive pursuit angles.
Okay, so we go into the second period tied, and this is where the game cracks wide open.
Total chaos.
The Eagles clearly realized that simply playing fast wasn't enough, so they dialed up the chaos. They started forcing these rapid transitions in the neutral plane. They made a concerted effort to swarm the possession. If the deer wanted to play a controlled game, the Eagles were going to make the environment as uncomfortable as possible.
And we saw that discomfort peak with Mac Blackwood's hustle play.
Huh.
Early in the second period, Eagles striker Mac Blackwood tracks down Marco Moon near the lower defensive layer.
Huge play.
He physically strips the orb, forces the turnover, elevates back to the neutral plane, and slips a pass to freshman stroker Wesley Leclerc.
And Leclerc buries the snapshot.
Right. Eagles regain the lead, 2-1. But hold on, the lower layer is traditionally the deer's domain. Why is an eagle striker down there initiating contact? Isn't that a massive risk?
It is a massive structural risk, but it highlights the sheer dynamic pressure of the Golden Eagles system. They don't respect traditional zones.
They just go wherever the play is.
Right. Blackwood dropping into the lower layer to force a takeaway disrupts the very foundation of the forest trap. That trap assumes the opponent will attack from the neutral plane or above.
So by challenging the deer in their own stronghold, Blackwood introduced a variable the trap wasn't built for.
Precisely. It threw them off balance.
The deer didn't fold, though. Moments later, McBain cycles the orb along the wall again. He spots Val Magnotti cutting hard.
That's such a great feed.
Magnotti takes it, fires a quick release, and ties it back up 2-2.
We were really watching two completely divergent philosophies, trading heavy blows.
Yeah, the methodical perimeter cycling of the deer versus the sudden, unpredictable momentum spikes of the eagles.
Exactly. An established, rigid infrastructure trying to contain a highly disruptive force.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. This is where that disruption completely shattered the infrastructure. We have to talk about the play of the match.
Oh, the eagle dive. We have to.
Yes, Jeffrey has the orb, dictating the pace. He launches this massive arc pass high into the upper layer. Lum has slipped completely behind the defense.
She hits the apex right as the orb arrives.
Catches the pass and dives. She hurtles downward, accelerating with the natural mana gravity, and slams a brutal spike shot through the ring. Eagles take the lead, 3-2. The biomechanics of that maneuver alone are staggering.
Oh, it's a breathtaking play. Let's unpack exactly why that specific maneuver is so devastating against the forest trap.
Please do.
The deer's defensive scheme is built around collapsing in the slot and guarding the neutral plane and the lower layer.
Right.
They are fundamentally preparing to intercept horizontal passes or upward drives. So by launching the play into the upper layer, Jeffrey and Lum attacked the one dimension the deer intentionally concede.
Well, wait, if the deer know the upper layer is open, why don't they just assign a defender to float up there and disrupt Lum?
Because doing so would stretch the forest trap beyond its breaking point.
It creates gaps elsewhere.
Exactly. If a defender commits to the upper layer, it opens up massive holes in the neutral plane for the eagle centers to exploit. The deer are forced to make a mathematical choice. They choose to protect the highest probability scoring zones.
The lower and neutral zones.
Right. The problem is the downward drift of the upper layer accelerates Lum's spike shot to a velocity that breaks traditional probability models.
Wow.
It forces the defense to look up, pulling them out of their structured zones and totally disorienting the Guardian.
That disorientation is such a crucial factor. And honestly, think about how that applies to your own life or your work.
Oh, absolutely.
You build this foolproof system, a rigid set of rules to handle your daily challenges. But what happens when a problem comes at you from a completely different dimension? If you set a trap on the floor and the issue is flying through the ceiling, your trap is useless.
That is the profound question the Golden Eagles ask of every team in the league. How do you defend against an opponent who refuses to play by your physical parameters?
You really can't.
Right. The Eagles prove that verticality, when executed with that level of speed and synergy, renders a horizontal zone defense obsolete.
Which sets up an incredibly tense third period. The Eagles are up 3-2, but the Deer push back aggressively.
They really flipped the script here.
Yeah, they swarm the offensive zone. Val Magnotti finds a lane and unleashes this dangerous high arc shot that looks guaranteed to drop into the net.
It had eyes for the goal, for sure.
But this is the moment we have to shine a spotlight on Golden Eagles guardian Blake Anderson.
What a masterclass.
Anderson sees the trajectory, launches forcefully upward from the crease, and makes a spectacular gloved save to deflect the orb.
Tracking that under extreme duress is so difficult.
It totally shifted the momentum. And looking at the stat sheet, Anderson faced 24 shots and made 21 saves. That's an elite .875 save percentage.
Those numbers are vital when you analyze the Eagles' overall strategy. Because they commit so heavily to the attack, they frequently leave their defensive zones exposed.
Right, they need a safety net.
They require a guardian who can act as an absolute fail-safe. A high-risk, hyper-aggressive system only functions if the last line of defense is rock solid.
And Anderson provided that stability.
Exactly, the exact psychological and tactical stability they needed to keep flying.
And they capitalized on it. Midway through the third, there's a wild scramble near the neutral plane. Eagles center Tyler Ward collects a loose rebound and snaps it in. 4-2, Eagles.
But the Deer still refused to quit.
No, they didn't. Just minutes later, Badek McBain finishes a controlled passing sequence to pull the Deer within one, 4-3.
The arena was deafening at this point.
Deafening. The Deer are throwing everything forward, pressing for the equalizer.
The tactical discipline required to mount a comeback like that against a team with all the momentum is commendable. They stayed true to their system.
They did, but that forward commitment ultimately left them vulnerable.
Yeah, it really did.
In the closing moments, Mac Blackwood forces another critical interception. He turns up dome and feeds Addie Lum cutting through the neutral lane.
And the Deer defense just panics.
They collapse entirely onto Lum to prevent the hat trick. But Lum's run pulls the defense completely out of position, opening massive space for Tyler Ward.
Such a smart play.
The pass connects, Ward buries the insurance goal, and the Golden Eagles win it 5-3.
The vision from Lum on that final play is exceptional. She knew she was the primary target. She used her own gravity as a player to manipulate the Deer's defensive shape.
It was brilliant.
It was. But, before we finalize our analysis of the outcome, we really need to acknowledge Verdant Deer guardian Carter Vobbs.
Oh, absolutely. Vobbs took the loss, but the individual performance was monumental.
The statistics bear that out. Vobbs faced a relentless 30-shot barrage from the most aggressive offense in the league.
And made 25 saves.
Right, finishing with a .833 save percentage. When you are constantly under threat from multiple vertical layers, maintaining the composure to track and deflect that many shots is a phenomenal achievement.
Kept them in the game.
If Vobbs hadn't been so steady in the first two periods, the Eagles would have put the game out of reach long before the final buzzer.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So when we step back and look at the broader implications of Game 2, what are your key takeaways from this Playmaker Clinic?
The overarching theme is a triumph of dynamic synergy over rigid structure. For the Golden Eagles, Jack Jeffrey quietly dictated the entire tempo.
With 2 assists, yeah.
He was the engine of their transition game, reading the spatial alignments, knowing exactly when to deploy those vertical strikes. And Addie Lum, with 2 goals and an assist, was the devastating tip of the spear.
Exploiting the upper layer with perfect timing.
Exactly.
We also saw massive contributions from Mac Blackwood, shifting the momentum entirely with those lower layer takeaways and finishing with a goal and an assist.
And on the Deer side, Bannock McBain was a constant orchestrator.
Right, trying to weaponize patience. He had a goal and an assist, too.
Game 2 perfectly encapsulates the tactical diversity of Manaball. You have two teams operating in the exact same arena, bound by the exact same rules, utilizing entirely different paradigms.
System versus system.
Exactly. And on this particular night, the chaos and aerial speed of the Golden Eagles successfully overloaded the patience and lower layer traps of the Verdant deer.
It really makes you wonder how the rest of the league is going to adapt. If you're a coach watching that tape, you have to figure out a way to defend that third dimension without compromising your foundation.
It's a puzzle that is going to define the rest of this season, but I actually want to leave you with a thought that builds on that exact puzzle.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've spent this entire deep dive analyzing how the Golden Eagles have masterfully weaponized the downward drift of the upper layer.
Right.
They use the mana gravity to accelerate their spike shots and bypass horizontal defenses. But if we follow that logic to its natural conclusion, what happens when a team figures out how to weaponize the upward drift of the lower layer?
Oh, wow. That is a fascinating concept.
Imagine an offense that doesn't attack from the sky but strikes from the floor. A team that masters launching upward, using the gravity of the lower layer to accelerate attacks from below the neutral plane.
It would require an entirely new kind of vertical synergy.
And it would completely rewrite the physics of Manaball defense all over again.
An anti-gravity attack from the floor of the dome.
Yeah.
That completely flips the defensive calculus for every Guardian in the league. You'd have to guard the ceiling and the floor simultaneously.
Exactly.
Well, keep that in mind the next time you're watching a match. Or even when you're looking at established systems in your own life. Sometimes the most effective attacks come from the dimensions nobody is defending. Thanks for joining us for this tactical breakdown, and keep questioning the dimensions of everything you see.